Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Michael Harding, and you are listening once again to Where's Your Head At? Unity Radio 93.5. Today, got a very special guest for you on the run up to International Women's Day, which we're trying to celebrate as International Women's Month because we feel that they deserve a bit more recognition than just one day out of 365. So, I've actually got a very good friend of mine who's actually partly responsible for the personal development journey that I went down. I was already a little bit into personal development. And then this friend from university just kind of pushed me down the rabbit hole just a little bit further. So without further ado, we got one of my close friends from university, none other than Miss Shardene Blake. How you doing?
Hi. Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
No worries, no worries. I was like, I remember when I first wrote my list and I was like, right, I'm gonna get to have a radio show. You were one of the first people that I was like, me and Shardene always have an amazing conversation. And every time we have a conversation, I'm thinking to myself, I wish this conversation was recorded for myself, for other people, for my future children, and then just for the masses, and then to look back in 5 years, 10 years time and go, wow, do you remember when we said that? Wow, do you remember when you were doing this? And like you were trying to get to this point and it was such a big goal and now it's just minor. So yeah, that's why I was like, I definitely wanted to get you on the show. And in fact, I don't even want to get you on the show just this one time. I want to get you on the show on a regular basis. So yeah, give the
Oh,
audience.
that'd be great.
Yeah, we're gonna put it out there into the universe. It'll probably happen. So yeah, just for the audience, let's give them a bit of an idea about who you are and what you do.
So I'm Shardene Blake, and I trained as an actress at the same drama school as Michael. That's how we know each other. And when I left drama school, I actually didn't have much confidence in myself. And what would happen was I would go to auditions, and I would be fine reading the script, but I didn't know who I was, and that really reflected badly in auditions. And not just in auditions, but in my life, because one day I woke up and I just thought, this isn't, I don't feel like the lead in my story. I think you've heard that saying, that I think it's Carl Jung that says, whether you know it or not, you are living a story, and it might not be your story, and you might not like that story, and you might just be a bit part in that story. So it's time to take control and be the star of your own story. And so that's what I resolved to do. I was like, that's it. I am done with just sitting in the background. I'm done with not getting where I want to be. Like, there were so many things that I wanted to do, and I just wasn't getting anywhere near any of them. And so I had like quite a few life-changing moments. Like, I feel like I had to have a really pivotal moment, and things would change massively, and I'd be like, oh, this is my story. And then a bit further down the line, there'd be another pivotal moment, and it would just elevate and elevate and elevate. And I feel like that's how my life has gone from 2012. I was in a massive rut. 2012, actually, I had a bit of a self-imposed lockdown because I had my son. I'd moved 100 miles away from my friends and family. I didn't know anyone in the village that I lived in. All I did was get up. I might walk to the shop and come home, and that was it. I didn't see anyone outside of my house. I was miserable. I'd wake up in the morning, not want to get out of bed. I used to worry about everything. I was so anxious about the future. I think I was addicted to the news, to mainstream media. I was definitely addicted to reality TV. I was addicted to processed foods, and I just was a mess, a miserable, lonely, angry, anxious mess. And that was when I was like, right, I've got to change. I've got to change this. So from there, I changed my lifestyle. So I went plant-based, completely vegan. I had a lot of excess weight, and I lost all of that without dieting or going to the gym or anything like that. And I felt amazing, had so much energy. And that led me down the rabbit hole of personal development. And that's when we really reconnected, wasn't it, over personal development? And from there, I just feel like I learn new things. It almost seems like on a daily basis, I'm learning new stuff about myself, how the mind works, how to really make the absolute best of your life.
100%. Like your journey, especially in terms of like the plant-based journey, also highly significantly impacted my journey and then also my mom's journey. And I do owe you a lot for that. I don't often, I don't think I tell you enough that if it wasn't for you kind of making me a bit more aware of this whole plant-based world, I think it was you that put me onto forks over knives, and
Yeah, it would be me.
yeah, it would have definitely been you. Like all of those things. What was it? Forks over knives, hungry for change, cowspiracy,
Yeah,
all of them. Like I watched. I'm just
mind blown, right?
completely mind blowing. And there's a new one out on Netflix at the moment. Is it Game Changers?
Yeah, the one about athletes.
Yeah, that's
So good.
it's just so many of these. I think it's one of those really subjective things, like going plant based. Like you'll be like, oh yeah, you can't feel as strong, you can't feel as bad, and then if you try it for 30 days to 90 days, there is no, for me personally, it's impossible to say that I felt the same. Like my sleep is different, my mental clarity is different, I got more energy, my mental like moods are just better, and it just makes you start questioning, hang on a minute, this actually makes a lot of sense. Like what I'm putting into my body as fuel, if it's not clean fuel, it's not going to, or if it's secondary fuel, which is coming from an animal, or if it's like even worse, processed, like it's just not going to be, you wouldn't go and put processed petrol in your car. You wouldn't go and put secondhand petrol in your car, like, and expect to be like,
Yeah, and also like a lot of the food that we eat is not really fit for human consumption. Like a lot of the processed food is not really fit for human consumption. It's like that analogy of you wouldn't put diesel fuel in a petrol car, you wouldn't really run with it. And I feel like eating a lot of processed food or animal products, that the chain, you don't know it. It's like I didn't realize that food had anything to do with how I felt. Naively, I just didn't know. And literally within 7 days of making that switch to plant-based and whole foods as well, it wasn't like I was eating vegan cookies or anything like that. I went whole foods. But I literally felt like a different person, and I was celebrating because I just felt I had so much energy. So if anyone has any doubts about, or misconceptions about plant-based diet and feeling weak or it's just going to be horrendous, just try it for a few days. And the mental clarity as well, if you're suffering with brain fog. Oh, and I tell you what, I had COVID a few weeks ago, and I don't know if you've heard, I don't really watch the news, but I read some articles about long COVID. So people are getting over that initial self-isolation period when they're allowed out, but then they're suffering with fatigue and lasting symptoms of COVID. So I was let out of self-isolation on Saturday, and then on the Monday morning, I actually filmed myself. I lay on my floor crying because I was that tired. So this is 2 weeks ago. I was that tired. I was literally sobbing. And I thought, I've got to film this because I can't. I don't know why. Something made me just film it. And then I messaged a few friends who I knew had COVID. And I asked them, do you have fatigue? How long does it last? I had a friend say, like, I had COVID about 6 months ago. I've still got fatigue now. Another friend had it probably April last year, still has fatigue now. They're trying all sorts of supplements. They're removing meat from their diet because they're that desperate. So as soon as I had that in my mind, I'd read the book Medical Medium. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Medical Medium. A guy called, I think his name's Anthony Williams. There's something on the bookshelf. Yeah, Anthony William. It's a bit out there for some people, but he channels a spirit who tells him about how to look after the body. And he says that a lot of chronic fatigue illnesses that a lot of people suffer with, that doctors can't really pinpoint what it is, so like fibromyalgia and stuff like that, he says are caused by viruses that are no longer in the bloodstream but actually live in the organs. And he talks about eating plant-based foods to feel better. So anyway, as soon as I was like, right, I'm so tired, I'm crying. Everyone I've spoken to is in the same position, probably not as tired, but they still feel that fatigue. I was like, that's it. I've spent most of the lockdown months just eating my feelings. Like, even though I'm a plant-based, whole food plant-based, I was still eating like processed foods, like By the way, when I first went vegan 7 years ago to being vegan now is a completely different world.
Oh,
There's
death
literally nothing
range
to,
is crazy now.
yeah, and it's not good. Like, I'm not appreciating it particularly because it was like there was no vegan cookies, no vegan burgers, no vegan processed food. So I was like, that's cool. I'll just stick to my fruit and my veg and my and whatever else, lentils, beans, nuts, seeds. That suited me. Like, I felt amazing. But then I'd be like, oh, vegan lasagna. I've not had lasagna for years. I'll just try that. And it all started creeping in. So over lockdown months particularly, like it's eating my feelings. I'm like, oh, this is horrendous. So I'm not going to lie, my diet hasn't been the most amazing in the past 12 months, like I imagine a lot of people. So then I was like, right, I know what to do. I felt like this before 2012. Cracked on juices every day, smoothies, just eating fruit and vegetables and some nuts and seeds and like beans. And by the end of that week, so I started Monday sobbing on the floor. By Friday, I was like doing my walking. I walk like 5K a day just as a head, clearer. I was back on my 5K walks. I was like, this is amazing. I haven't been able to walk for a month. So this is what I think is really important to tell people. You can change your body, your energy, literally within a week. So now, would you believe if I told you I had symptoms of long COVID and I was crying on the floor because I was that tired? Like that, it's gone now. It was only like 2 weeks ago. And honestly, I was exhausted. And now I just feel like, I feel good. I don't feel 100% to where I want to be, but I'm so far along from being that exhausted. So plant-based, try it. Like I recommend anyone to try it. Watch the films, Forks Over Knives, because I feel like that's the original and the best when it comes to really talking about health and plant-based diet and how it's interlinked. It's mind-blowing. It's so good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In terms of for myself personally, I'm not completely plant-based. I've just started a rule. I think it was when I first started talking to you about it that I wouldn't buy meat from supermarkets. So that was my first step. Then it went to I wouldn't have meat that was cooked, and I'd only have it if I was going to Nando's or something like that. Then I reduced it to I was only allowed meat once a month, then once a quarter, and now I've changed it to I'm only allowed to eat meat if I'm on holiday or if I'm what's my one birthday or Christmas. Those are the only times. So meat for me is literally like a celebration thing. It's like, whoa, I'm actually having meat. And if I'm gonna have it, it needs to be the best of the best. I'm not gonna just have any old thing. And then I'm then gonna start this year. I'm gonna try and reduce it so that when I'm on holiday, I'm not doing it as well. So that when I'm abroad, it's just because when I was in Asia, I was a bit worried about not having as many plant-based alternatives. But when I was there's plenty of plant-based alternatives. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, next time I go traveling, I'm just going to stick being plant-based. So for anyone that's listening and you're contemplating it, I'd say the key area where I think a lot of people struggle is they try and go all in straight away. I'd probably go, if you know that you eat meat every day, start by just cutting it out on weekends. Then once you've done that for 3 or 4 months, then do it that you only eat meat on weekends. Then do it, you only eat meat on weekends at the end of the month, and then just slowly transition that way. And I think as well, it causes you to be more creative. That's what I found. I think one of the best recipes you gave me, and again, this is, I think, one of the big problems is people just don't know what to make because it forces you to be creative. One of the best ones you gave me, which I do all the time now, is the frozen banana thing.
Yeah.
That
it's
is
easy. Just basically freeze bananas, ripe bananas, blend them, soft serve ice cream. So easy.
It's
But
exactly like ice cream. It's amazing.
And I love it with like a bit of nut butter in it. That's really nice. Or like even blended date, if you really like sugar, it makes it really sweet. But I totally agree with what you say, because when I first went plant-based, I actually didn't go fully plant-based either. I was just plant-based in the house. So if I went out to a restaurant, because back then, honestly, the vegan menus just didn't exist, I would order whatever. like chicken or whatever. And then after a few months of that, not that I ate out a lot, but it would come and I'd look at it and I just think, I literally can't put this rotten flesh in my mouth. And when I also understood that when an animal dies, the very last thing they experience is fear and stress, because they know they're going to die. They're at a slaughterhouse, they see the other animals in front of them dying. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm eating stress hormone in that meat. And then I was like, no, I just don't even want to. So I feel like that is a really good tip. And the other thing I say as well to myself, even to this day, is I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And that just takes away the deprivation. It takes away the thoughts of, oh, I really want to eat that chicken, but I can't, I'm not allowed. Like, I'm allowed to eat chicken. If I want to put a chicken leg in my mouth, I can do that. But honestly, I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah.
So I think it is reframing how you think about it. So if you go into it, I totally agree with what you're saying. Just don't worry about going fully vegan, fully plant-based. You can absolutely take it a step at a time.
Bit by bit, bit by bit. So I haven't even asked you the first question that I ask everybody. We've been talking for 25 minutes, almost half the episode, and I've not even asked you my first question. So the first question is meant to be, where's your head at? Answer that however you like, whatever that means to you.
Mike, do you know what? I feel mentally really, really good. So we're in lockdown 3 as we record this.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've lost track.
Yeah, it's third. But I feel really mentally strong. I know the difference, I think, between this lockdown and first lockdown for me personally is that first lockdown that I had a lot going on and I didn't know, I didn't have a vision, fully formed vision for my future. I thought I did at the time, but I definitely didn't. And so this lockdown and lockdown 2, I've done a lot of meditating, a lot of, do you know Joe Dispenza?
This is the 5th time this book has come. I'm going to order it at the end of this call.
Yeah, the universe. You've got to delve deeper.
I've got to get this book.
Go for it. It's amazing. So Joe Dispenza is all about quantum fields. So he does meditations, and he talks about, like, I love quantum physics, but he talks about how time isn't linear and how whatever we want is in the quantum field. So by meditating and going to the quantum field and then feeling the emotion of having what you want and the intention of having what you want collapses time so that it brings whatever you want to you much quicker. But aside from like the quantum mechanics of it, just feeling like you have what you want is such a great way to live, because it means that you're not living from scarcity, you're not living from lack, because the only reason you want any goal in your life is because of how you think it's going to feel when you have it. That's the only reason you want the goal. So why not just feel like you have that right now, even if you don't tangibly, physically have it in your hand? Well, it's yours in the quantum field. So, and it's that whole idea of you've got to believe it before you see it, rather than see it before you believe it. But so I did a lot of Joe Dispenza meditations, and I've done a lot of work on my future self. Wow. So I feel like I know who my future self is, and I'm acting from my future self now. So rather than acting from a place of, well, I really want that, so I'm going to try and get it. Well, no, I'm acting from a place of like, if I had that, how would I be acting? If I had that, what opportunities would I be taking? If I had that, how would I approach contacting different people? Like, if I had that, how would I be showing up every day? Would I be making the effort to engage more with people on social media? Would I be committing to filming more videos, doing more content? And that has made the world of difference to me, rather than just being like, oh, I really want my own TV show. I'm like, well, no, like, if I have my own TV show, what would I be doing? I'd be scripting ideas. I would be like, you know, visualizing stuff. Ideas come to me all the time. So that's where my head's at, basically. And I heard this great quote, Matthew McConaughey, who I've never paid any attention to before in my life. He's got a book out. Have you read it? I've got it.
You've never
Yeah,
paid any attention to Matthew McConaughey.
no,
You not seen
never.
Dallas Buyers Club?
No,
Please,
no. Honestly, like
please watch it.
I'll watch it. I'll
Especially
watch it.
being
I've never.
into like food and pharmaceuticals. Watch Dallas Buyers Club and also watch Interstellar. Like if you're into quantum physics and like anything to do with the quantum realm, Interstellar,
I'm lying.
just oh, you'll love it.
I've seen it. I'm lying. I watched Interstellar, but I only watched Interstellar for the first time, literally like in November. So I'm lying. I'm absolutely lying. But that was the first time. My brother told me about Interstellar about 5 years ago or whatever it was, and I was like, yeah, doesn't sound like my cup of tea. Then I watched it, and then I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. So Interstellar, in case anyone hasn't seen it, you should watch it. But it's all about how time isn't linear and how you can affect your past self from now. And actually, right, I'm going to tell you this little story. I was in a really a long-term relationship, and then I left that relationship, and we lived together, and my ex still lives in the house that we lived in together, and I have to drive past that house to take my children to school. So initially when I first started driving past the house, I'd be like, oh, like not feeling great about it. And then for whatever reason, one day I remember this. When my son was about 1 year old, I used to stand at the kitchen sink, look out of the window and see the traffic go past our house. And for whatever reason, I used to feel like I'd stand there for like 5-10 minutes just looking for no reason, just looking. And one day I was driving past and the light was on in that window, and I was like, I'm just going to send love to myself when my son was 1 and I didn't feel that wonderful. Like, I'm just going to send love. And then I would just drive past the house and just send love. And I felt like I was affecting my past self. Like, what if that was the reason my past self stood at the window, is because my future self at that time was sending love to me.
Wow.
And then every time I drive past the house, like another vision of myself in the garden will come, and I'll be like, yes, send power, send like gratitude. And so it just, the idea of time isn't linear makes life so much better and more exciting and fun. And I feel like you can affect your past self right now, which means you've changed in the present. Because if my past self had more confidence, more power, more love, then that means that that's going to influence what I do now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Interstellar is amazing. But my point, anyways, Matthew McConaughey quote, and he said, someone said to him when he was 20, who's your hero? And he said, my hero is me at 25. Okay. So he was looking up to the person he was expecting to be at 25 as his hero. Imagine if you were your own hero. So imagine you're thinking about, right, who's my hero? Who do I admire? Who do I look up to? It's me in 5 years' time. Imagine what you would have to achieve to be your own hero. So now I'm kind of living by that. So I just
like
think,
that.
Yeah, because it really pushes you. It's like, right, well, what would I have to do? Who would I have to help? What would I have to achieve? Like, what would be part of my legacy? Like, there's so many questions. Like, and if you think about who you actually admire, what qualities in that person do you admire? I better be that in 5 years' time. That, to me, that feels really good. That feels like really aspirational.
Yeah, it kind of gives you that kind of future anchor of, no, I have to be this person because I'm already visualizing and feeling that person. Like,
yeah,
that's really powerful.
It
like,
is, isn't it?
Powerful on so many layers. Like, okay, where was that interview, or was it in his book?
It was on a podcast. So because he's got this book out, he did he did the whole like podcast circuit. So I will try and find it. I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to, but I'm sure it will come up when it needs to. You know how the universe works. Yeah. So he did a lot of he did like the Rich Roll podcast, Lewis Howes,
Joe Rogan as well. I remember seeing it.
I'm going to tell you who.
Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, I don't really listen to Joe Rogan, but yeah. What's the other one? Impact. The guy who
Impact Theory with
Tom Bilyeu, is that his name?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So all of those type of podcasts, he was on all of those. So I'm sure if you sift through them, you'll find the quote. But that's what he said. It had a massive impact on me, like profound impact.
Okay, I'll have to check that one out. So, question to ask you, which links in with everything we've said, is what is something you can do now that you couldn't do before? Which could be before lockdown, could be before 5 years ago, just whatever that means to you.
I could never honestly own who I was. Like, I think about when I left drama school and
Wow.
all that training, you know what it was like. We could stand up in front of a camera, we could stand up on stage, I could do radio, like I could do all of that stuff. Give me a script, I could do it, but I couldn't own me. So I could own all of these characters
Mhm.
and do pretty much anything that was asked of me, like anything. If a director said, right, you need to be like half naked for this, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But I couldn't own me. Like, I could not own who I was. I didn't know what I stood for. I didn't know my values. I didn't know how to use my voice. I didn't know how to use my voice for other people. I didn't know how to pull other people up with me. Had no concept of, if I go here, that means I can take someone else here with me. Like, I didn't understand that concept at all. So I think that own who I am. Like, I know now I don't bend to people's will, whereas before I was such a people pleaser that I would just go along. If you like something and I didn't really like it. So if you said you like something in this interview, I'd be like, yeah, and I'd try and go along with it, even if really deep down it wasn't for me. So yeah, own who I am, I think.
That's really powerful. I think indirectly you've touched on something there that's very, very relevant at this moment in time is people don't know who they are. Because I think, especially in the Western world, we place a large part of our identity on our jobs. And the common thing when you ask somebody, oh, who are you? They say, oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm an accountant. I'm whatever job title. It's very rare that people expand on who they are and like what they actually love about life. So I think right now the Western world, especially in the UK, I think people are very in a similar position to where you was and nowhere near where you are now. So now in terms of what you're doing now, what give us an idea of what it is you're doing now in terms of, because you was doing coaching before. Are you still doing that? Are you still, what's your situation? What you working on?
So I was helping people with public speaking. So what I did was, where I recognized that I couldn't speak my truth, which in turn meant I wasn't actually living my truth. I noticed that a lot of people that I knew in my network, like entrepreneurs, business owners, they were struggling to just speak in public, which is something that you and I can do, no problem. But I also understood the struggle, because even though I could speak in public, I couldn't speak for myself, or and I noticed that people lacked confidence in their speaking abilities, which meant that people then mistook that as a lack of confidence in the products they were selling or the service they were selling. So I was helping people with that, and I was presenting live events and stuff like that. So that was sort of like pre-lockdown. But now my focus has shifted to help people really live the life that they dream of living, like that and not just on a superficial level, not just on a like a big house, fancy car, all these holidays, not that level, because honestly, when you have that but you don't know who you are and you're not happy with who you are and you're not living your purpose and passion, that's just completely worthless. And I know that I'm talking from experience, because that's the position I was in, like financially so secure, just like on 8 holidays a year. And it was just in one respect, like the financial aspect, it was easy, but the soul aspect, it was painful. So I want to help people just understand who they actually are. And I think some people are scared to look at who they are. And the other thing
Wow.
is, or one of my favorite books, The Alchemist,
Mhm.
I read the introduction the other day for the first time ever. And the author was saying that there's 4 things that stop people living their dreams. And the first thing is that they don't know what their dream is, because from a child, they were told you're not good enough for that. That's a ridiculous idea. You know, you should be seen and not heard. Like, all these limitations are placed on us as children. So we bury who we really want to be. And you know, a lot of our lives, especially as young children and especially as women also, it's all about making yourself small and minimalizing yourself so you don't get in trouble, or you know, you get kept out of harm's way. So we bury our dreams, we bury the purpose that we've been sent here with. So when we're born, we know what that is, but as we get older, it's like under layers from society who say you need to get a job, you need to be driving a car, you need to own your own house. So we go, well, if I pursue my dream, I'm probably not going to be able to do that. So then we have those layers, and then the next thing is that when we identify what our dream is, like if we can actually unearth it, then we're worried that the people we love, we're going to let them down by saying, actually, I'm not going to be a solicitor anymore and give you a 6-figure a year income. I want to go and be an artist. And so then they worry that the people they love, you're just going to completely, or they won't support you. But the truth of the matter is, if someone truly loves you, they will support you on your dream.
I say that to people all the time. Like, I say to people, look, at the end of the day, if you're doing something you hate just for the income, and you're doing it to please, mainly in a lot of backgrounds that I work with, it tends to be people's parents that they're trying to please. Oh no, I've got to do this because my parents would be so upset. They've sent me to university to become this doctor, this lawyer, this accountant, whatever title it is. And then if you're coming home every day, or even worse now in COVID, and your health is literally at risk and you could die, if you have that conversation with your parents and you literally unlock your emotions, don't be scared to hide, and show them how much pain it's putting you in mentally and physically, it's very rare that there's going to be a parent that goes, nah, I don't care, you need to keep doing it. And then if they do, if you do it consistently, then they're, as a parent, and if you're reaching out to other family members, it then changes it, and it's then, oh, actually no, the issue is with me as a parent trying to fulfill a dream or a life goal through the child. And I think this is something that happens countless times through multiple generations, is parents trying to live their dream and their ideal life that they didn't get to live through their child. Like this whole, oh, I want my child to have a better life than me. What does that even mean? Like like it's such
How do you measure that?
yeah. It's such a, especially now with everything that all the choices and technology, it's very, very difficult to really quantify that. So if someone wants to reach out to you, how do they get in contact with you? How do they find you?
So you can just, I'm on Instagram, Shardene Blake on Instagram. That's probably the best place, actually. Just send me a DM, because I always answer my DMs. So that's the best place to find me, because I feel like I've switched. Like, I feel like I'm really channeling my purpose right now, which is to create content that will just help people rather than just working one-to-one with people. My goal this year is to have a TV show. So that's where I feel like when I'm doing that and working on that, that's when I feel like I'm in my flow. That's when I feel like, yes, this is what I've been put here to do. So yeah, Instagram, Shardene Blake. Yeah.
For the dyslexics like me out there, how do you spell Shardene Blake?
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that it's not just going to be up. So it's SHARDENE, Blake, BLAKE.
Thank you very much. So there you go, guys. Get at Shardene Blake on Instagram. She's also on Clubhouse, so
yeah, I am. Thanks for that.
enter as many rooms as you can to talk to her in a little bit more detail, find out a little bit more about her. So in closing, because we're gonna have to wrap this episode up, but I'm definitely gonna do another episode with you. I want to talk to you about something that I know that you've been wanting to talk about, which is a book that you're reading at the moment. So tell us a little bit about a book that you're currently reading or you've read that made a massive impact in your life.
The book I'm currently reading, which I think fits in probably quite well with your National Women's Day / month, is a book called Rich as F Words, not allowed to swear, are we? And by Amanda Francis, I think. I'll have to double check that. And it's all about how your energy attracts money into your life, and it's all about changing your beliefs, not just around money, but around yourself, like your self-belief, like cementing the fact that you can actually achieve anything you want.
Oh, okay. And where did you discover the book? How did the book come into your life?
I found it on Instagram.
Oh, did you?
It was on Instagram.
Oh.
It's just a really random, obviously the universe pushed it into my path. I just came across it. I didn't know who she was, never heard of her before, but actually I follow her now on Instagram, and like I feel like quite inspired by her life. She's very much a right, I want that, so I'm going to get it type of person. But it's not a, I think as women we try and hustle for things all the time, because I feel like that's the way.
Elaborate on that.
Say that again.
Elaborate on hustle for things.
So, like, in business, I've always been taught, like, you've got to push, it's very masculine. There's very, like, strategic ways of getting what you want or getting to where you want to be. And actually, really, it's the energy of who you are and what you believe that will attract things. I'm not saying you can just like sit at home all day and stuff, just someone knocks on the door and goes, oh, here's an opportunity. What I mean is, instead of taking the action you feel like you should because of society's rules, or because you've seen other masculine energies do that, it's more about channeling. So like I call it taking inspired action. So if you're energetically, this is going back to Joe Dispenza's thing where he talks about everything's a vibration, and we all give off radio waves, like frequencies. They come out of our bodies, and then we can only lock into the same things on the same frequency as us. It's like a radio station, you can only tune in.
Yeah.
Just tuned into. So if you're vibrating at the frequency of whatever it is you want, if I'm vibrating at like TV series deal, then that will come in and meet my reality. But if I'm vibrating at, oh, I really want it, but I don't think I'm good enough, or there's probably someone else who's better than me, or whatever, like, you know what I mean, then that's below the frequency, so we're never going to meet.
Okay.
But if I'm on this frequency, I'm taking action that's going to keep me going, like on that frequency, and like we're paths are never going to cross. If I'm vibrating at that frequency, I'm going to get the ideas that's going to take me towards that frequency. So I feel like instead of hustling, instead of saying like, right, to get a TV show, I have to have this many followers, or I have to have this agent, or I have to know this exec in this network, like why not just relax and take the aligned action? Because if you say like that aligned action could literally be, right, I'm going for a walk right now, and on that walk you just happen to bump into someone who has a contact. That's what I mean. Like I think it's the opposite to the
I love that. That's
and it's
exactly
just
what happens in life, especially in my life.
Yeah, it's because you're taking aligned action, and I feel like everything's so much easier and so much more magical when you take that aligned action. Why are we forcing ourselves to do stuff we don't even want to do? That doesn't make any sense. The only reason we're doing it is because we've been like conditioned and brainwashed to think like we all have to be Wolf of Wall Street to be billionaires. And we absolutely don't, because we can energetically get there. And that just sounds so woo-woo, and people dismiss it because they don't understand. They can't. The reason why I feel so good in this lockdown is because I meditated for so long that eventually I realized that my default feeling has been fear, and fear I felt in the pit of my stomach. And when something I'm worrying about has gone away, something else comes in to replace that fear. It's not even that I care about that thing, it's just that my default feeling was that fear. So once I recognize that, because meditate literally means to get to know yourself, so you can, and people think meditate's like just clearing out your thoughts so you're not thinking anything, but actually it's about recognizing your thoughts so you don't keep living the same life over and over and over. So if that's my default feeling is fear, then what am I going to attract? Just more fear. So once I got rid of that and like elevated it, like I feel amazing. Sometimes I feel like, what pandemic? I've had COVID, do you know what I mean? I was crying on the floor, but all the time I just think, oh, I forget we're in a pandemic.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Because we've just I know we're running out of time on this episode, but Isaac, maybe you can squeeze in on the editing just an extra 5 minutes for us and reduce the ad breaks, because you've just touched on something that is very important to me that I love talking about, which is meditation and the misinterpretations of what it actually is, and the amount of people that don't do it because they think it's some airy fairy misfocused, oh, I've got to get my mind silent thing. And it's like, no, you've got to, there isn't actually an objective. Like, but yeah, can you touch on that for us?
Well, I think that's the other thing. Like, people think, well, it's pointless. Why would I sit there in silence, or why would I listen to a meditation? Like, what is the point? But that is the actual point. Like, if you are walking around with yourself all day, every day, wouldn't you like to be aware of who you are living with? And it also lets you separate yourself from your thoughts. So I had all that fear churning up in my stomach that I didn't realize about. But instead of being like, I can't be fearful, I just say, I observe that fear. And once you observe it, it just dissipates. And I think that's the other thing. It's like, oh, I have this terrible thought. I can't have it, like it's wrong. And there is no right or wrong in meditation. There's no right or wrong with your thoughts. It's about embracing, like, all right, I'm scared. Great. Now what? Well, nothing, because nothing's happening. Like, things just go, like, melt away. So I would honestly encourage anyone, just sit with yourself. Sitting with yourself is scary. Like, I 100% understand, because sometimes you don't like what comes up. Like, I don't always like the stuff that comes up. And it also feeds into, I believe, thing I'm passionate about is self-talk, like how you talk to yourself about yourself. And lots of people don't realize that that's even a thing. Like, and I used to tell myself I was fat, I was ugly, I was unsuccessful, I was never going to make it. That was constantly going on in my head. If I had someone in the room with me who was like, you rubbish, in my ear all the time, I'd be like, excuse me, can you just move out of my house because you're not being helpful? But that was me in my head. There's a great book, actually, The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer. He talks all about that.
Heard about that one. Yeah, thank you ever so much for touching on that. Thank you for the incredible value that you've given in this episode. Listeners, please, if you feel like, if the universe is telling you need to get in contact with Shardene, get in contact with Shardene.
Do it.
Instagram at Shardene Blake. If anyone out there listening is in the media space and has any connections in TV production, direction, so on and so forth, please also get at Shardene. I think you have an incredible project that you can collaborate on. I've been Michael Harding, and this has been Where's Your Head At? And my guest today has been
Shardene Blake. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Shardene.